And good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I don't have it here. I'll get a copy for promo purposes. Since I'm going to be spending a good bit of time discussing Romans chapter 11, tomorrow I will introduce a very special book offering for the month of April 2023. It will include my book, Elijah Has Come, a solution for Romans 11, 25 to 27. I thought I had a copy here on my desk, but obviously I don't. So, as I announced to you yesterday, in my ongoing study of Matthew chapter 25, specifically, verses 31 and following, last week I introduced the idea of the correlation between Isaiah 27, Isaiah 59, and of course Isaiah 65 and 66, Matthew 25, 31 and following, and Romans chapter 11, 25 and following. You know, Romans 11, 25 and following has been called the keynote passage for a yet future salvation of Israel. Dispensationalists appeal to Romans 11, 25 to 27 to speak of the salvation of Israel at the time of the rapture, time of the second coming, 7 years after the rapture. Postmillennialists call Romans 11, 25 to 27 the classical presentation of postmillennialism. Kenneth Gentry makes that comment in his book, He Shall Have Dominion. Romans 11, in the futurist paradigm, now I have to tell you this, in the all-millennial world in which I was raised, as a fifth-generation member of the all-millennial world, Romans 11, 25 to 27 stood out as a genuine enigma, a troublesome text. Quick anecdote, two quick anecdotes here. Years and years ago, I was the minister for the East Main Church of Christ in Shawnee, Oklahoma. One of my elders there was a man in his 80s. He spent 8 hours a day studying. He taught himself the Greek language. Yeah, he could read the Greek as a result of his own study. Anyway, marvelous man. One of the most godly men I've ever met in my life. In preparation for my very first formal public debate, which was held in 1983, I went to his house and I sat down with him, and his name was Lloyd Wills, and I said, Brother Wills, I said, I need some help. I said, I need you to help me with Romans chapter 11, 25 to 27. And here's this man for whom I had the absolute utmost respect. And he said, Don, I don't know what to tell you. I literally do not know what to tell you. I've studied this, and I've studied this, and I've studied it. And he said, I do not know how to explain this passage. I was literally, absolutely stunned. For all of his wisdom, for all of his insights, he had no clue what Romans 11, 25 and 27 meant. The second anecdote, in preparation for that same debate, I went to Oklahoma Christian College, used to be called that, now called OCU. I sat down with a man that I used to know quite well. He was, at the time, a very top world-class scholar. He could sight-read the Hebrew. He could sight-read the Greek. Sit down to lunch with him. He says, Don, how can I help you? I said, I want you to help me with Romans 11, 25 to 27. Now, keep in mind, he's a professor of Bible theology. He just shook his head, hung his head, and he said, Don, I can't help you. He said, I don't have to tell you that our brethren struggle with that text. And he said, I've struggled with it. I don't know what Paul was saying. And he said, now, I know that the dispensationalists are wrong because of other extremely clear passages, but I really don't know what Paul was saying. Well, once again, I was stunned. Here's a world-renowned published scholar. So two men for whom I had the absolute utmost respect for their scholarship, their acumen, their understanding. No clue whatsoever on the meaning of Romans 11, 25 to 27. Now, my scholar friend finally told me that day, he said, well, here's what I can suggest to you, Don. All I can suggest to you is that you just got to hope and pray that your debate opponent, who was a dispensationalist, by the way, doesn't go to Romans chapter 11 and just camp out. Because he said, if he does, I don't know what to tell you what to say. But he said, here's some things that you might say to divert his attention. Listen, I was troubled by that. Divert his attention? I want to deal with the text. Well, in the debate, my friend my opponent in the debate really was a friend of mine. And he brought up Romans chapter 11. He said, Don can't deal with this. Let's talk about the salvation of Israel at the second coming of Christ. So I made some of the arguments on Matthew 16, 27 and 28. My friend never mentioned Romans 11, 25 to 27 again, for which I was thankful. In the ensuing years, I decided to devote myself to understanding Romans chapter 11, 25 to 27. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you that I've got every single answer to every single question that might be raised about Romans 11? Nope, absolutely not. I will tell you this. The answers that I have found through the years, through my research, are the most satisfying, the most comprehensive, the most contextual answers that I've read anywhere given by anyone. I didn't find these answers in any commentary. I just dug them out myself. Am I patting myself on the back for that? No. I'm just simply saying that the answers that I've found are to me satisfactory, and I'll share this with you. A few years ago, 7 years ago, I believe it was, I had two formal internet debates with Dr. Michael Brown, a noted premillennials, not dispensationalist, premillennial debater, world-renowned. He went to Romans chapter 11, thinking that I was just like all other futurists, although he knew I was a preterist. And so he goes to Romans chapter 11, and he says, I just don't believe that Don can answer the fact this is dealing with the salvation of national Israel. And he said, that hasn't happened, but that will happen at the time of the second coming of Christ. Well, when I began my rejoinder, I made the comment, I agree with Dr. Brown. Romans 11, 25 to 27 is about the salvation of, quote, national Israel at the second coming of Christ. You would have thought Dr. Brown's face was going to fall off and rattle around on the floor. He had never heard that from a debate opponent before. And by the way, he could not and did not answer my arguments on Romans 11, 25 to 27, taken from Isaiah. He couldn't answer. I have had countless numbers of people who followed Dr. Brown for years, who, oh, by the way, are now, as a result of those debates, full preterists. He could not answer the arguments. Here's my argument. And I'm almost out of time. Wow. The salvation of Israel in Romans 11, 25 to 27 would be at the coming of the Lord in fulfillment of Isaiah 27 and Isaiah 59. To repeat yesterday, The coming of the Lord of Romans chapter 11, 25 to 27 is the coming of the Lord of Matthew 25, 31 and following. Therefore, the coming of the Lord of Matthew 25, 31 and following would be in fulfillment of Isaiah 27 and Isaiah 59. But the coming of the Lord of Isaiah 27 and Isaiah 59 would be at the time of the judgment of Israel for shedding innocent blood. The time of the judgment of Israel for shedding of innocent blood was in AD 70 according to Jesus himself. Now remember, Paul was anticipating the fulfillment of Isaiah 27, Isaiah 59, not looking on its past fulfillment. He wasn't looking back to the captivity of the 10 northern tribes. He wasn't looking back at the Babylonian captivity of the 2 southern tribes. Paul was anticipating the yet future to him salvation of Israel at the coming of the Lord in fulfillment of Isaiah 27, Isaiah 59. Now here's your assignment. Since I'm out of time for today, I want you to read Romans 11, 25 to 27. And I want you then to go back to Isaiah 27, read the entire chapter. Go back to Isaiah 59. Now, I'm not focusing at the present time on Jeremiah 31, 29 to 31, which is also being quoted by Paul in Romans 11 as yet future. But I want you to read Isaiah 27, Isaiah 59, see what they have to say. We will begin to develop it. This is fantastic stuff on the flip side. I'll see you on Wednesday.